Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 40. I am Goose. As always, I'm here with Healy, and today we brought you another special guest, Josiah Gray with the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. He is a pitcher. Before we get into that, if you guys are actively listening to us, go ahead and hit that download button. We are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, the Standing Room Only podcast. We're on YouTube as well. And then our social media, we are SR Only Pod. We are on Instagram and Twitter. Myself, I am iGoose with 4 O's on Instagram and Twitter. We have Healy as well.
You can follow me at the Healy6 on both Twitter and Instagram.
Yep. And then Josiah, do you have a social media that anybody can follow you on?
Yeah. So I have both Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram will be Jojo Jojo _ Gray21, and my Twitter will be at JGray JGRAY 2 Y's _. I'll pop right up, search Josiah Gray, and I'll be right there.
Awesome. Everybody go ahead and give him a follow. He is the future of baseball, top prospect right now, not only in the Dodgers organization, but in all of Major League Baseball. He throws heat. He has some nasty pitches. But yeah, so Josiah, you're joining us. Welcome in. First things first, I figured I might as well get it started. Our last guest, we had Tyson Miller on last week, who actually ended up debuting yesterday for the Chicago Cubs. He had a question for you, for the whole Dodgers organization. We figured we might as well ask it.
Yeah.
Is there a class you guys go to for swagger? He said from the tailored pants to the walk to everything is just swag. And he wanted to know deep down if there is a class you guys have to take.
I wish there was, but no, it's kind of just like you join the organization and you kind of have that this swag, like you said, to you because you're in the Dodger organization. So there's no class or anything, but it is kind of just like once you join the organization, you're in probably the best organization in baseball.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah, you're a Dodger. You just have that about you. So I
Yeah.
figured, yeah, I had to get that out of the way. We had a laugh last week, and I thought, you know what, let's see what the talk is about. Let's see what the hype is about. So we'll see if Tyson, if he listens into that one. Um, so why don't you go ahead and tell us? I know you were drafted a couple years back, or you just finished rookie ball.
hmm
You were traded from the Reds over to the Dodgers, which I think is huge for your career. It
hmm
was pretty much a blockbuster trade.
Yeah.
Obviously Yasiel Puig and some others. I think Kemp was involved with that, and you got sent over in a package deal. It was a package of prospects.
Yep.
What was that like for you? And getting that call that you're traded and you just broke through to the bigs, and what's that like for you at that time?
Yeah, that was kind of it was a whirlwind of a day, but also like a whirlwind of a first year because, like you said, I had just been drafted by Cincinnati,
Hmm.
relatively high, and I was really envisioning myself working my way up through that system and helping them continue to compete in years to come. And then getting traded that winter, I knew there were trade talks going on
Hmm.
with Cincinnati and whole bunch of other clubs, but I never really saw my name mentioned. So I didn't really give it any thought until honestly the day I was traded and I found out it was my 21st birthday,
Oh,
and along with trying to enjoy my birthday, then I had to realize that I was traded to the Dodgers. So it was really just kind of just like a surreal moment to know that even if my name wasn't sort of mentioned in tweets and articles and whatnot, that the Dodgers and people in baseball were looking at me and they were still scouting me even after my first season in rookie ball. So it was interesting and definitely uh, beneficial for me to come over here to the Dodgers organization and be here the last 2 years.
Now you throw gas. You're a beast on the mound. It wasn't always like that, though. Saw that
hmm
you had one college offer. You were actually a two-way player there, and the
Yep.
majority of it was playing the field. How did you pitch much before you went to college? And what was that
Yeah,
transition into like the pitching life?
Yeah, so I always pitched for my travel ball team growing up, and then when I got to high school, I didn't pitch until 10th grade. So it was more so just like a fun thing to do because I always threw strikes, and I was always a reliable guy to throw every weekend for our travel ball team. But then once I got to high school, that's kind of when I started to pitch a little bit in more meaningful games per se. So 10th grade, did great job on the mound, and then 11th grade I was on varsity, and I became basically our ace for our varsity baseball team, along with playing shortstop. So it was just like if I wasn't pitching, I was playing shortstop. So I was doing the two-way thing, and I was pretty successful at it. I did it the same in my senior year, and nothing really came from it college offers wise. Not sure why. I was throwing probably 88. I was a decent shortstop. I could run a little bit, but no colleges came calling except for Lemoyne where I went. So I kind of just ran with that one offer I had, and wanted to get on campus there and just make the most of it.
And that's cool. That's over in New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Is that, forgive me for not knowing, is that like a D2 or a D3 school?
yeah. So it's a D2 school. We're
D2.
about
Okay.
15 minutes away from Syracuse University, uh,
Okay.
and it's kind of like we're Syracuse's baseball team because Syracuse obviously doesn't offer baseball,
Mhm.
which is pretty unique. So yeah, we're a smaller school, but we have some talent up there.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you came out of there. I actually did not know that about Syracuse, that the university didn't offer baseball. I just
Hmm.
thought it was always overlooked because of their successful basketball program with Melo and obviously other talented players that went there. Um,
Yeah.
so you made your way. You went through. You got the one college offer. You went through. You got drafted. You get traded to the Dodgers. What's been the most exciting since we'll even say since you joined the majors? Is it is there anybody in particular that you've faced, whether if it's in Cincinnati or in the Dodgers, or anybody in the majors that you faced and you're just like, man, this is a challenge, or this guy's really tough?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not in the majors yet, but I know what you mean.
Spring training.
Yeah, yeah. I think spring training, just facing, I had my first outing against the Angels, but I didn't face. This is back in March spring training, not summer camp.
Hmm.
I faced Tommy La Stella, Brian Goodwin, Joe Adell, a couple really good big leaguers. And
Hmm.
then summer camp was when I really got thrown into the fire with facing us, the Dodger guys, whether it be Mookie or Jock or Bellinger, or I had my one start against the Angels, and it was their actual lineup this time, so I faced Trout and Otani and such. Uh, so everyone's, you want to kind of up your game when you're facing those guys, but it's kind of like those are the guys you're going to be facing for years and years once I get that
Hmm.
call. So I just want to continue to get comfortable with those situations, facing those guys, because those are the guys I'm going to be facing for years and years to come.
So tonight I watched a old, like, someone that went to my high school. They were pitching for the White Sox. He got called up. Pitched against
Hmm.
Miguel Cabrera, which growing up you're just like, Miguel Cabrera, he is the
That's Miggy.
man.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you like grew up watching, or like that was on your like favorite team growing up that's still in the league that you'd be like,
Hmm.
you'd kind of be like starstruck actually pitching against them?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. So I grew up a big Yankee fan, about 25 minutes away from Yankee Stadium. So if there's anyone, it'd probably be Judge or Stan. Those kind of guys. Just growing up, you're like, wow, these guys are kind of larger than life. And also, you got guys like Miguel Cabrera, as you mentioned, Mike Trout, obviously. Um, and you got to always include the NL guys as well. So uh, Albert Pujols, even though he's in the AL now, people still get that mixed up. Pete Alonso, the names go on and on, but I would
Hmm.
say Judge and Stanton are probably the first two guys I can think of that I grew up watching, and I'm still big fans of. That'll be some good matchups down the road.
And I assume when it comes down to picking your dream stadium to pitch in. I initially want to say Yankee Stadium. Can you confirm that that would be that dream stadium?
Man, with the way the ball flies out of Yankee Stadium, I don't know, but
And that lineup that they have.
but yeah, I definitely when this is all said and done, I definitely want to be able to throw at Yankee Stadium, just knowing the history there and my
Mhm.
childhood kind of growing up and in awe of that stadium. So that's definitely something I want to cross off my list when it's all said and done.
Pitchers, you don't have to give away your whole repertoire or whatever, but it takes a lot of practice to be able to perfect a pitch. Is there
Hmm.
any pitch that you have learned over the past few years or learned growing up that you've gotten down and it just is the most satisfying feeling knowing that you can throw this pitch?
Yeah, I want to say the only thing that hasn't been tinkered with in my introduction to pro ball is my fastball. I've worked on my slider. I've introduced a curveball as of last year. I've continued to tinker with the changeup. That's something I've been tinkering with since I could remember that I started my college career. So honestly, just continuing to grow with every pitch every day. So I would say every time I'm able to throw a successful off-speed pitch along with a successful fastball that gets a swing or an out or anything, it all sits with me and lets me know that I'm doing my job well that day, and I can go out and have a good outing if I continue to have those good pitches and execute what I got to do out there on the mound.
Now, in right now, you're with the alternate team. You're just practicing, preparing every day. I think you're telling me before you're basically in a hotel. You go to practice, come back, chill in the hotel. What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, I don't do much besides watch some Hulu and play MLB The Show. It's the days aren't that exciting, but they want them to be kind of mundane because just of the uh, condition of everything going on right now. So they want to
Mhm.
keep us as limited and as low key as possible. So whether that be just going to the hotel and back, or say you live in an apartment somewhere down here. But I don't mind it. It was what I was doing out in Arizona, just getting my work in, working out, and going back. And now it's what I'm doing in LA. So I don't really mind it as long as getting my work in every day, staying ready for a potential call up, and doing what I love to do.
For the people listening, if you guys do play MLB The Show, Josiah does have his own 99 card. I played against it in a video, and if you go up against someone with a 99 Josiah Gray, it is actually him. So he plays MLB The Show a lot. Did you say you played Warzone too, or Call of Duty?
Yeah, so I used to play Warzone big time, probably more than the show as of probably 2 months ago, but the Wi-Fi here in the hotel room isn't the greatest. So I can't really play Warzone because of how much is going on, and show is
Hmm.
probably the only thing I can play. So that's just about what I play right now. I'm kind of just hoping that the Wi-Fi can improve sooner or later, so I can get back to Warzone and winning some matches with my buddies.
With being in the Dodgers organization, they have a lot of great players in it. Specifically, some pitchers. They always seem to generate great pitching. Has there been any guy that like a veteran that you've spoken to during like your spring training or like during the summer camp and stuff, or even like a veteran that might be with the alternate site that you've gotten like
Hmm.
some great advice to like help you out?
Yeah, it's a good question you raised. I would say, like, being at the alternate side, we signed a guy, AJ Ramos, who was an
Ooh.
all-star, yeah, with Miami, and he's probably a guy that gets forgotten about because of how subtle the signing was during summer camp. But he's a guy that's been around for an X amount of years, and he's a guy that's seen a lot, and he's just someone. that I've continued to talk to and have conversations with just about baseball and life and how things kind of can fall into your hands as long as you continue to go out there and put in the work. So he's a guy that's a sleeper pick, and he's been pitching great as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a call sometime soon. But he's a guy I've sort of continued to gravitate and conversate with and try to learn stuff from. So when I'm up there and trying to help the team out, I have those lessons he taught me about.
Yeah, he's been around since 2012. He's been a solid reliever most of his career. So definitely, that was a cool story. I didn't even know AJ Ramos is with the Dodgers right now. So
yeah, it was a really, really subtle signing. Probably happened the last week of summer camp. And he performed. He pitched in a couple summer camp games, but he's been at the alternate site since that opened up, and he's been looking great. So I'm really happy for him and glad that we have him here in the organization.
The depth is unbelievable for that. Someone goes down, he'll be the next one up. Do you have any other questions, Dustin?
No, you pretty much asked a couple I was thinking of. I got my questions out of the way. Obviously he's from New York. So last week we had Tyson Miller from the West Coast. This week we had Josiah Gray from the East Coast. Going, completely on the other side of the country there. Giants fan, Yankees fan. Yeah. I mean, obviously with you're on the what are we calling it? The taxi team, the taxi roster.
Yeah, so it'll just be the alternate roster.
The alternate. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time right now. And I know with the whole situation with the world, and obviously we saw in the league with the Marlins and the Cardinals and the Reds even. Yeah. And now all these teams are trying to play catch up with all these double headers that teams are kind of forcing these call ups and making the call. So hopefully you'll get that call soon. I'm sure it's just a matter of time, especially, last week Healy was showing me some of your highlights too, outside of what I've already seen. And you definitely have some nasty pitches there. So hopefully it's just a matter of time for you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
That was Josiah Gray in the Dodgers organization. Normally I didn't know if we're gonna keep him on Talk Sports or whatever. He might have stuff to do, so yeah. He had to go. But yeah, if you guys don't follow him already, it's JoJo_Gray21 on Instagram, and it's J Gray with 2 Y's _ for Twitter. Go leave him a follow. The number 2 prospect in the Dodgers organization, top 100 prospect in baseball. Dodgers are killing it. Like always, they've won like 6 in a row. The Cubs, they slumped for a little bit. Fernando Tatis, the big topic right now.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, Fernando Tatis, last night, while we're recording this on a Tuesday. So Monday night, Fernando Tatis hit a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch when the Padres are already up 7 runs, and it sparked this huge controversy on Twitter. The manager got really mad for the Rangers. He actually threw at Machado. The manager got suspended 1 game. The pitcher that threw at Machado got suspended 3 games. 3-0 pitch. To be honest, we've seen leads be blown in baseball, especially with how many home runs are hit in today's game and with how every game matters right now. We're in a new era. We aren't in the 80s where it's 3-2 ball games all the time and the leading home run hitter has like 35 to 40. Everyone in the lineup can hit, especially with DHs now. You just gotta let people do their own thing. 3-0 count, threw a fastball, and they just got mad that they were losing by so much. Today, Tatis, I believe, tried stealing third when they're up 6-0 against the Rangers. He got caught, but yeah, huge controversy on Twitter and everything.
The whole unwritten rules.
Yeah, which I don't care for that. If you're beating a team, you continue to hit.
I mean, at the end of the day, I know some sports it's play until the whistle blows. Baseball, I guess there was unwritten rules throughout the years. Like me growing up and playing, and like I just on a 3-0 pitch, you still don't want to give this guy, you don't want to toss him a beach ball to hit, and especially with the hitting we're seeing. I mean, me as a Sox fan, the last couple games, they've hit like back to back to back home runs in multiple innings, where one inning can turn a game around. So I mean, as far as the whole unwritten rules go, I know some of them are, I guess they're padded, and I don't know like what is and what isn't fair game when it comes to that. But I think what Fernando Tatis did was good baseball. It was, three 3-0 pitch. He got the green light. I don't blame him for swinging. And I'm glad that there were suspensions, because obviously we saw with the Dodgers, we saw Joe Kelly get suspended for throwing at the Astros, quote unquote throwing. So
I think the Joe Kelly thing and this one a little bit different, because one was for previous instances with the Astros cheating and whatnot. This one was more of like a taunting rule. I don't get all these old heads that complain about these guys not scoring and showing out. We love home runs. We love seeing runs scored. These guys coming up in the bigs right now, like Fernando Tatis at the head of it, you want these guys to succeed. So Fernando Tatis hits a grand slam, second home run of the game, 7 RBIs in that game. But no, that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't see our stars showing out. Instead, they should be respectful to the game. You're trying to grow the game of baseball. You need this stuff to happen. Yeah. Stop gatekeeping what can and can't happen. We're in a new era, and it's all about showing out and proving why these guys are the best of the best.
And what does that say about your team that you have to go out, not only throw at Manny Machado, who really had nothing to do with that, but then you're going to go on national TV and cry about it? Like, we're not in Little League. There's no, 6-run inning rule, and all of a sudden we just have to give up the inning. I think the biggest thing that I've seen this year, especially, I mean, not just this year, but any inning, a team can put up 5, 6, 7 runs. Mm-hmm. And so as a team, it's a game of chess, not checkers, in any sport. So are you going to tell a football team, hey, you ran for 200 yards and you ate up all the clock, you didn't give us a chance to score? Like, that's not how it works in any sport. And I think
with that example, I don't think chewing clock is the right thing. I think it's passing for 600 yards.
Or even passing, yeah.
And being up like 40 points.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It happens. I mean, I don't know about you, Healy, but when I played baseball, I got the green light to swing on 3-0 pitches sometimes, regardless of the score, because he has to throw a strike. Yeah. Like, are you supposed to allow the pitcher to catch up in the count? It doesn't make sense to me. So a lot of these unwritten baseball rules, go write them out and find the most expensive paper shredder you can find and just shred it or bundle it up and just throw it into like Lake Michigan, because honestly, there's a new era of baseball, and tossing a bat, fans like. Cheating we don't like. That's a little bit different. That's not a new era. We don't respect that. But when it comes to the unwritten rules, let's just erase those.
Yeah, get rid of them. Baseball, it's changing with how they added the DH this year. They've added a couple of rules for the COVID, but yeah, they got to become more marketable, and to do that, you got to let these guys show out and do what they need to do. If you are going to complain about that, don't be losing by that much. Don't just take the loss and move on to the next day. Life will move on. Also, the Rangers, same manager, for last year that was complaining about this. Last year, Mike Minor was in the 9th inning of his final start of the year. He was 1 strikeout away from 200. 1-2 count, fouled or put into foul territory in between home plate and first base. First baseman was running towards the ball, Ronald Guzman, and Mike Minor said, "Drop it, drop it, drop it." So what did Guzman do? He let the ball hit the ground, and then Mike Minor got his 200th strikeout. You can't be complaining about one thing but doing the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? It comes down on the coach at the end of the day. There's no way this pitcher goes out there. They're gonna chat. There's chatter probably in the dugout. As soon as the ball left the bat, the coach was like, "All right, that's BS. Like, are you serious right now?" And so in the dugout, it's the coach that gets the guys going, or it's the coach that gives the nod, like, "Hey, let's give them a little taste of their own medicine," so to speak. And then you're gonna throw behind Manny Machado, who obviously is one of their best hitters. Not Fernando Tatis, but um, yeah, I think that's funny because that's a double standard right there. Sometimes you just gotta suck it up and take the loss like a man, especially when they're handing out suspensions the way they are in a shortened season. 60 game
Mm-hmm.
season. We're obviously already almost a third, if not more than a third of the way there. And every game counts from here on out. I mean, it's always counted from day one, but now especially you're pushing closer, and the Rangers actually aren't that bad of a squad this year.
No, they're doing pretty decent in the standings. The Rangers, they're third. They're 10-12 on the year. They just lost today. They've lost 3 in a row. So they were 10-9. Now they're 10-12. They play against San Diego again tomorrow. The run differential, a little garbage, but -27 on the year. But yeah, it's a weird thing to complain about. And I know this wasn't the same Rangers team, but I don't know if you remember, they beat the Orioles like 30-3 back in like the 2000s or something.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, let the guys do what they have to do. Let them take every AB and try to crush the ball. I want to see these stats happen. I
Yeah.
want
I
to see
mean,
these
they
guys go off.
practice. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole idea. You practice hard, you go out and you play hard. And I mean, you just can't give up. You can't let up, whether if you're hustling to first, second, third base, or it's your at bat, whatever it may be. Because I mean, if you don't play to your potential every single play, I mean, granted, some guys take plays off, but I mean, you risk injury at that point too. I know
Mm-hmm.
at bats a little bit different, but also at the same time, you're pitching to one of the best hitters in the game right now, and you're going to toss him something over the plate. I get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk him and give up 1 run, but guess what? You just gave up 4 runs because of your choice to throw a fastball over the middle. So
Yeah. Really, really dumb. And I think both managers apologized yesterday. San Diego manager apologized as well. Fernando Tatis, I think yesterday he kind of like, I think it was just in the moment. He was like, "All right, I guess I'm sorry. Like I have grown up in
yeah,
baseball. Like I'll take what I learned from this and use it for the future." But we saw it today. He tried stealing third up 6-0. So I think he was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. It's good.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, the fact that he even did that too, it just goes to show he's out there trying to have fun, especially because that San Diego team's winning too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at the end of the day, no matter which side of the ball you're on, no matter what team, what ball cap you have on, you can't let somebody else get to you when it's a shortened season like this. The fact that these guys are out there even playing baseball, they should just, it's hard to do it when it's in the heat of the moment, but just take a step back, take a breather, and realize, okay, you know what, we got another 40, odd games going. Especially Fernando Tatis being as young as he is, like, and
So
I know,
good.
like, yeah, and he's I would say living up to his family's name. So I don't know. It is what it is. You already lost the game. You were getting destroyed. They needed insurance. Insurance runs count in baseball. So no matter what it is, no matter what the unwritten rule is, if we don't see guys throwing at Tim Anderson for tossing the bat 50 yards downfield, then you could be okay with giving up a grand slam in a game that you probably already lost.
Fernando Tatis, though, the hottest person in baseball. Him and Mike Trout both have 10 home runs on the year.
Yep.
We are only like a third of the. You remember before the season, we were talking. We're like, do you think there's going to be a 20 home run hitter? And we're just like, yeah, maybe.
Maybe 2.5 months of baseball,
60
possibly
games.
60 games,
I
20
was
home
like,
runs.
someone possibly could, but we're seeing a lot of people on pace right now. The pitching and how frequent games are being played right now. We are seeing a lot of home runs, I think I called that. I think I was like, I think the first couple weeks were going to be hectic because these guys only had like a couple weeks after a few months to warm up again. But yeah, Fernando Tatis, Mike Trout, both leading the MLB with 10 home runs on the year. Awesome stuff to see. And Mike Trout, he missed a week of baseball. It's a long time right now.
It is. He came back even stronger. Obviously, dad strength. He's been cranking out home runs. The fact that he's at 10 home runs and he's played 19 games, that puts him on pace for, if he played the full 60 games, he'd be looking at just about 30 home runs, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, right now he's 10 through 20. He did not homer.
Oh, he did not. Okay. So that's still a home run in 50% of the games.
Yeah. And I did see someone post on Twitter, which could be why he's getting so many home runs this year. Mike Trout is not getting pitched around this year. In previous years, he would see a huge percentage of balls outside the strike zone and being pitched around. And his walk rate was insane. Mike Trout, he has 8 walks on the year. He normally averages like he normally gets over 100 a year, which is pretty good. Right now he's only at 8, and yeah, people are pitching to him, which is resulting in these home runs.
Do you think it's that lineup, because they have Trout, they have Rendon, and then they have Ohtani? At least in tonight's lineup, that's tough. You're gonna walk him or pitch around him, and you have somebody in Anthony Rendon, who last year we talked about a lot during the playoffs. I mean, he was a huge asset for that Nationals World Series team. So then it's like you're gonna risk pitching to him then, or you're gonna pitch around him, or you're gonna pitch around Ohtani. They have bats. They have depth on that in that lineup there, and I know that they aren't winning as many games as they probably could be right now, but yeah, that says a lot right there about that whole lineup that follows behind Trout, especially if there's a runner on base. It's just with Trout, sometimes I would still risk the walk.
I don't get it at the moment. Maybe we see pitchers pitch around him a little later in the year. I don't know. It could be the Rendon. But I was like thinking before, he's had Ohtani hit behind him the past couple years. Before that, I don't know who hit behind him. So they probably could have avoided him. But Anthony Rendon, one of the best hitters in baseball. We saw it last year with him in the Nationals, and then him in the playoffs in the World Series. We went to the Cubs game last year against the Nats. Which is kind of funny to think about, because the Nats ended up winning the World Series.
They did.
And we were talking about how Soto and Rendon are just monsters up at the plate.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's I know for a fact it's not the fact that they were just in Wrigley and that they're Cub killers, because obviously there's some guys out there who are just natural born Cub killers. These guys just dominated. I mean, Rendon had a career year last year, going into free agency. And then Soto to me is one of my favorite players, especially after what he did last year, especially after the game we were at.
Yeah.
Because the Cubs came back in that game and they were down by a few runs. They came back. I think maybe Schwarber went yard in that game. I can't remember who did. But then Rendon, I think, either homered or reached base like 3 or 4 times in that game. And he had like 4 or 5 RBIs. And that alone was just like, wow. Like him alone. And they still had well, they didn't have Bryce Harper then, but they still had, other major bats like Soto and some others there. So Nationals still a good team without Rendon, but he was a huge asset, and the Angels are definitely gonna benefit from him.
Speaking of Juan Soto, he has 7 home runs in 13 games right now. He's hit some moon shots. I don't know if you saw he hit one out of Citi Field the other.
I did not see that.
He had an absolute missile, I believe, in Atlanta. He's been crushing the ball, and this dude's 21 years of age, and he is just one of the best hitters in baseball.
Batting a 417 as well.
Yeah. I'm looking at like OPS and stuff right now on the stat board. There's a lot of guys over 1,000. It's gonna be real interesting to see who finishes above 1,000 to end the year at the end of 60 games.
Charlie Blackmon has been on a tear too. He's one of those. He's got to be over 1,000.
Brandon Lau, he's hit 5 in the past 6 games.
Wow.
Mike Yastrzemski has been a beast as well. Ian Happ's up there in OPS. He's had a fantastic start to the season. He got told that he was the leadoff or the everyday center fielder. We talked about that last week. Bo Bichette's been amazing.
Tim Anderson's been hot.
Yeah, he was a triple away from the cycle tonight. He was a double away from the cycle a few games ago. He's been on a tear. Baseball is fun to watch right now. If you guys aren't watching some baseball games, I'd recommend doing so. A lot of runs being scored. A lot of people are hot. There are some people who are not, like Baez and Bryant. I don't know how many times I can stand seeing Bryant whiff over a 90-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle.
Yeah, it's been tough. I was watching him yesterday. Obviously, we're watching the debut to Tyson Miller, and I was sitting there watching, and I saw him. He struck out on a pitch that was like right over the plate, and it's weird. Chris Bryant's one of those guys, obviously, who's always going to be looked at as a top player, but he's so streaky to me. It's when he's in a slump, he slumps so hard, and then he'll eventually pick it up. He'll get his average up. I think last year he wasn't too bad. But Chris Bryant is definitely it's going to be a huge factor when it comes down to August, or I should say September and October when it comes to playoff time. Because with the way the Cubs are playing, I'm pretty confident in saying that they should have a playoff spot. Pitching's been good, but those bats are going to be very important. That run support for those pitchers, the Kyle Hendricks and John Lesters, who can go out and give you 5, 6, 7 solid innings. Maybe they give up 2-3 runs, but if you only have a couple of those guys hidden, and Chris Bryant being in the 3 or the 4 spot isn't doing it, it's and you don't want to drop him towards the bottom of the order because that's not what he gets paid for. That's not what he's there for.
Yeah, they have him leading off.
Yeah, or even if he's leading off, I know that you just gotta he'll get it going. It's just one of those things with it being a shortened season. It's like you got to get it going sooner than later because once baseball time hits and you don't have your mojo, the pressure's on. We don't know what's going to happen either. We might not have fans. We might have fans. I know the NBA after the first round might have fans. So that's, to me, more pressure because now you're playing in front of a fan base versus nobody.
Yeah.
So
him and Baez. I know Baez, he had like a double tonight. I don't know exactly his stat line. Cubs are up 6-1 over the Cardinals. They're about to take their second game out of the third in the series. He is 1 for 3. Not doing so well. And Cubs play a doubleheader again tomorrow, so they're going to play 5 games technically against the Cardinals. Yesterday, you and we both watched Tyson Miller's debut.
We did.
And it was the weirdest circumstance ever. Tyson Miller debuted as a Chicago Cub at Wrigley Field, but he was the away team. He pitched in a 7-inning ball game, and there was no fans. How are you going to explain that to someone 20 years down the line, like a child? He pitched for the Cubs, but he was an away team. He was
in Wrigley.
Yeah, against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were the home team in
You
a
know, that
7-inning game.
that did not dawn on me because I watched the game and I saw they're in Wrigley, but I was rushing back home. I had to make a run to the grocery store. I was like, okay, I need to go get something real quick. And I'm looking, I'm like, I'm not going to catch the beginning, but I'm like, all right, cool. The Cubs are batting first. I'm like, cool, no big deal. And it didn't even strike me that they that the Cardinals were batting in the bottom half of the inning in Wrigley. That's interesting. That's the weirdest stat I've ever seen. Tyson Miller is going to go down in history for that, for probably the most weirdest debuts ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nonetheless, a few days before that, he was on the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 39. Make sure you guys tune into that. Super cool guy, super cool. You could tell, laid back. Josiah Gray, super cool guy as well. But yeah, that's the weirdest, and I think we're gonna keep running into more weird
Mm-hmm.
things as the season goes
Yeah.
on. Just COVID.
Another weird stat the other day over the weekend, there was the first ever extra base hit or the first ever extra inning home run that wasn't in the 10th inning or later because of the 7-inning doubleheaders. It was either in the 8th or 9th inning.
Oh yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, weird,
So weird.
weird stats right now. And like how it felt really weird. I know that there've been 7-inning ball games this year. Yesterday was like the first one I watched from start to finish. It was so interesting how they were playing. Like Tyson, he threw 2 innings. I believe he went out there for the third. No, he got through 2, and then
Got
they
through two.
changed him out immediately. He only allowed 1 run. It was a 2-1 ball game, or was it? It was a 2-run shot. So they
It
were
was a
down.
2-run home run.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
down 2-1 after 2 innings, and they pulled him. If there was a normal game, I think they would have let him ride that one out.
Oh yeah, he could have played more. He definitely, you could tell with it being his debut. And I hate to point it out, but the irony in our last episode when we were discussing and going in depth on balks and Johnny Cueto and what he does and is it a balk, and then it did happen. I'm sure, and he posted about it on his social media on Twitter. It was kind of funny. So if you guys don't follow him on Twitter, you guys should check out his tweet regarding his balk. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, besides the home run he was hitting, he had some very nice. He hit 95, and I don't even think he said he hits 95 in that episode. I think he
Mm-hmm.
said he tops off now at 94,
Yeah.
maybe 95, and he had 95, I think, a couple of times. So he
Mm-hmm.
definitely had his arsenal working with him, and I tip my hat to him. I mean, he got the call last minute. They said, "Hey, come pitch," and he jumped to it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Definitely weird. Again, 7 innings. How they had to like play it. They were down 1 run, but they had to act as if it was already like the 7th
Hmm.
inning in like a normal ball game. Very
Yep,
weird. The Cubs did end up winning thanks to a 3-run Bodie home run.
David Bodie.
I don't know why the Cubs tried bunting with 1 out to advance the runner from second to third. Ian Happ, one of their best hitters, bunted to advance the runner. I don't understand that move in today's game. You get 2 chances to get a hit. A guy's going to score. Luckily, it worked out. Weird stuff. Baseball, very weird. Yeah, Cubs, they're going to close it out. Kenta Maeda actually had a no-hitter going into the 9th today. Twins were up 3-0, and
wow.
they're currently in the bottom of the 10th because the Brewers tied it up in the 9th.
Oh man, 3-3 game right now. Yeah, it looks like there was 3 runs. Top of the ninth, there was 3-0. And I wonder if any of those were earned. There was only 2 earned runs in this game. Maeda, 12 strikeouts tonight, which is a pretty good feat. He's actually having a pretty damn good year. He's a pretty good pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Twins in general have been pretty hot. Um, Christian Yelich is still batting under a 200. He'll get it going. But
Yeah.
so we have yet to see a no-hitter um, in baseball in the 7 innings that guys have to pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll get close a couple times. Kyle Hendricks, I think almost pitched a complete game the other day, 7 inning complete game when the game was tied, but
Mm-hmm.
he got pulled out. But basketball time, I think that was it for baseball. We got through what we
Yeah.
had to talk about. Basketball time, wanted to talk about it because I'm seeing it fly down my timeline.
Oh man.
Dame and the Trailblazers win game 1 against the Lakers.
I wonder, and I don't know, but I want to look this up. The last time a NBA playoff started where both number 1 seeds lose game 1.
Ooh.
Because we saw the Bucks go down earlier. Giannis played a hell of a basketball game earlier, had the double-double, scored over 30 points. He had like 17 rebounds. They ended up losing to the Magic, who actually don't besides Vucevic, they don't have Aaron Gordon. I think DJ Augustine balled out, had like 12, 13 assists. Um it makes you wonder with the whole all this time off, guys had time to rest. Um, you know, these number ones, I would say in June, the Lakers and Milwaukee were for sure gonna go through and sweep whoever it was.
Yeah,
Now
especially
you
in their
have
homes.
exactly. There's no home court advantage. There's no crowd. There's you're getting guys who are playing basketball like they were growing up in almost empty little stadiums or whatever you want to call it, gyms.
Mm-hmm.
And Portland, obviously a great team. Dame Lillard, a great underappreciated point guard in the league. If you asked me back in June, do you see them challenging the Lakers? I probably would have said no. But they busted their ass. They got into the playoffs, and with that team, just looking at them, Dame, CJ McCollum, who is playing with a fracture in his back, quote unquote. Yusuf Nurkic, he was battling in the paint today. I watched most of the game earlier today, and he was going back and forth with Dwight Howard,
Mm-hmm.
JaVale McGee. I mean, he's grinding in the paint for offensive boards. Fun stat with these two teams that played tonight, I believe they're 1-2 in blocks per game. So these two teams actually are pretty defensively sound when it comes to at least getting blocks. And I don't know so much about turnovers, but so the Lakers were known as being a pretty good defensive team. They have Anthony Davis, LeBron's actually he's gotten better over the years with his defense.
Mm-hmm.
KCP is not bad. Rajon Rondo is going to be a huge asset when he does finally return because he plays that full court defense. But yeah, very, very interesting day in basketball. Both number ones go down. Which loss is more surprising to you?
I would have to say the Bucks.
Yeah.
Like we've seen what Dame can do and what the Trailblazers have done. They had to fight their way into the playoffs. So the Lakers, they hadn't had to do that. The Lakers could have chilled because they had the 1 seed the whole time. They were basically just playing just to finish out and get some playing time in and just be ready for the playoffs. These Blazers, they came out hot and they showed out tonight. Carmelo, oh man, was I wrong about Carmelo a long time ago? I said he wouldn't last 10 games. He actually hit a shot with how many I don't know.
He hit
Let me
a
see.
3. Probably I wouldn't call it the dagger 3, but there was 2 minutes and 33 seconds left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Trailblazers were up 3. It was 95-89. He gets the look from Damian Lillard, hits the 3, and so far since the seeding games and the playoffs, obviously game 1, Melo has hit probably the most clutch shots out of anybody. Besides Devin Booker having a nice game winner and a couple of
Mm-hmm.
other guys having some nice clutch shots, Melo has hit the 3 when they needed it most, or the jump shot when they needed it most. And I'm not saying this is vintage Melo, but vintage Melo was a dog in the fourth quarter. We've seen it as Chicago fans when he was with New York. He did it multiple times to us. He's done it to a lot of teams. Healy, yes, you were wrong. I wasn't on board with the Melo. I knew he was talented. I just didn't know where it went. It was almost like the movie Space Jam, where the Monstars came and just took the talent from a player, and he just didn't have it. I think he fits perfectly with this Portland Trailblazers DNA. They can all shoot. I saw Yusuf Nurkic shoot a couple threes. There was one he missed horribly. Probably shouldn't be shooting as much as he was. But they have two great centers. They have Hassan Whiteside, who can come off the bench, bring the energy, grab boards. He had 5 blocks tonight. I like this Trailblazers team. I still would not bet against the Lakers. I will say Lakers in 6, but Dame, as always, he's gonna bring the heat. And you know what? If Dame could take this series somehow, and now he's beaten Paul George, James Harden, and LeBron in the playoffs, he's gonna go down in history as one of the best point guards in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because the stats are there. He's always a top scorer. He's always putting up a solid number of assists a game. But it's all about that leadership and how can you go above and beyond with a team that doesn't have that many Hall of Famers. It's not like the Lakers who have Anthony Davis and some other guys, or even the Bucks. I think the Trailblazers are better than an 8th seed. They're proving it. Again, I don't think they'll go past 6, but if Dame can pull it off the way he's been playing and that, a supporting cast, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull it off in 7.
Going back to like what you said though, the Bucks loss definitely hurts more. I didn't watch the game earlier, but I don't know how they lost that game. The Magic, they haven't been a super great team. They lost one of their best players. We'll have to see if the Bucks turn it around, but as of right now, it's looking scary, and this championship is a toss-up. We talked about it before, where we were like, we wanted to do our predictions for who will make it to the finals. I still have no clue based off the series that have happened tonight. I know these are long 7-game series. The teams are 1 seeds for a reason, but it's not the same circumstances as before.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. Again, there's no home court advantage for any team. There's not many games where Giannis is going to put up the numbers that he did today and shoot almost 50% and they lose. I know Chris Middleton had a horrible game. He only had 14 points. He shot 4 of 12. Magic, I mean, they were in the middle of the pack for a while. They did drop to the 8th seed, obviously behind like the Nets and some others. I'm a little surprised more so by the fact that they led by so much the whole game. I mean, Vucevic is a great center. He's always a top dog. He's always one of the most expensive to go with on FanDuel. And he played up to the hype. And I mean, he shot well over 50%. And he's a center who can shoot the long ball. He shot 5 of 8 from downtown, which I didn't know he had the long ball like that. I mean, I know he can shoot threes, but 5 of 8 is super high percentage, very productive. You don't get that. You get that from a shooting guard, and you're like, wow, that's a good day. So we'll see what ends up happening. I still can't make a prediction. I still think Milwaukee's going to take the series. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep all the way through, but a lot of excitement so far. I'm satisfied. I'm definitely
Speaking of
satisfied.
excitement, we did see Donovan Mitchell drop 57 yesterday and lose.
And he lost. Yeah, they were playing without Michael Conley. I forgot what the reason was with Conley. He couldn't play. Luckily, I did play Donovan Mitchell in my FanDuel yesterday. I know I didn't put my FanDuel out. I'll put a FanDuel out for tomorrow. We can get back to that. I had a great one tonight, but you guys wouldn't believe that I had it. So yeah, Donovan Mitchell put up, I believe, the 3rd most playoff points. And he ended up taking the loss. Tough loss. That Jazz team is weird to me. There's some days where they play extremely great basketball, and when I say great, I mean both sides, because obviously defensively they're pretty good. They have, Rudy Gobert, who's arguably a defensive player of the year candidate every single year and will be for the rest of his life. But they just could not. I mean, for everything that he did in the games yesterday, there just was that Nuggets team is way too much, way too powerful offensively. Like we talked about it at the beginning of the year. There was we had a listener who replied, somebody I think that maybe you had known,
Yeah.
who said, "Don't sleep on the Nuggets," and I agreed with him at the time because they have so much depth, and now that Michael Porter is starting to step up, I didn't even know that he was ever even gonna play as much as he is in his career now, and he's balling out too, and they're looking like a very, very scary team in the West, and I'm talking like they will give the Lakers and Clippers a run for their money. I mean, not many guys can score 57 and you still win by 10 points. So,
Yeah, tomorrow. Something cool about the NBA playoffs this year. They're playing every other day. They're playing 4 games a day. Kind of like
yeah.
baseball in the playoffs where they play all day long. So you will miss a couple games in the day if you aren't aware. But it's cool. You don't see these random like 2-day layoffs in the series. They're trying to get them all down. Like a game that I probably would have turned on if I knew that they were playing today. Forgot. The Rockets and Thunder.
Yep.
This is a great series to watch. Rockets took it by 15 points. Houston playing without Russell Westbrook. James
Yep.
Harden dropped 37 points, 54% shooting, 6 of 13 from 3, 7 of 8 from the line. Did Eric Gordon step up with 20, Jeff Green step up with 22, a couple other guys in double digits. Chris Paul, 20. He had 20, 10, and 9. So
Yeah, he
just
almost had
missed
the
a
triple
triple
double.
double. Gallinari had 29 points and led for the Thunder.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor in that on that OKC team was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's I know he's super young, but he's super talented, and he really didn't produce at all. In 35 minutes, he had 9 points. He only shot the ball 8 times, and it's not like he was in foul trouble. He didn't pass the ball. He only had 1 assist, and he's one of those guys where you can rely on to at least fill the stat sheet. If he's not scoring, he might get some steals, rebounds, assists. He didn't really do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I turned on the game in the fourth quarter, and OKC started to make a run. I saw Chris Paul score like 6 or 8 unanswered points. He had a quick assist, and they started to come back. And then Harden came in, and it was like flawless basketball. Everything it looked like OKC didn't even know what to do when Harden was on the court. And kudos to Jeff Green coming off the bench, the vet, played a huge game, and I think this year's Houston has a lot to I mean, Houston in general, they have a lot to play for. They with all the talent they've had, James Harden, who obviously has been pretty loyal to the team,
Mm-hmm.
has yet to really go far. To do what they did against an OKC team that's actually pretty good, better than
Yeah.
what a lot of people thought, and they did it without Russell Westbrook. So it just goes to show that their team is pretty deep. Next man up. They have James Harden's going to score 35 on any given night, but it's all about the supporting cast, and I think they all did their work, and Jeff Green and Eric Gordon too.
Couple playoff games to watch tomorrow with the evening slate. You got Philadelphia against Boston. Again, Ben Simmons is out. Gordon Hayward, he is going to be out for pretty much the remainder of the playoffs. How big of a deal is that to the Celtics?
That's huge. He actually has been playing really well this season, before the bubble, during the bubble. He provides a lot of minutes. He can play anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. We know what Gordon Hayward's capable of. Um, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the younger guys now. It's gonna put a lot of pressure. I know we're gonna see Marcus Smart probably picking up a lot of those minutes. Who Marcus Smart's a great ball player, don't get me wrong, but just the scoring, the purpose of Gordon Hayward being all around and offensively, he's a great scorer. It's gonna come down to Jaylen Brown now. It's gonna come down to Jason Tatum. Kemba Walker is going to
Mm-hmm.
have to pick up. He's going to have to shoot more. I know they were slowly working him back into away from that minutes limitation or that restriction. But
Mm-hmm.
he's pretty much good to go now. It's a huge hit. It's a huge hit. They're gonna, we'll see what ends up happening. It's now it's back to the young squad. Besides Kemba, Kemba's obviously a veteran. But they're still gonna be okay. I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out for. They said he might miss most of the series, if I'm not mistaken.
Hayward,
Yeah,
4 weeks.
that's the series. That's almost the next series too. So uh, this series, I don't think they have a lot to worry about. Joel Embiid played a great game. He said it himself. He didn't play good enough. Sure, even if he put up a better game, I don't know what this 76ers team can truly do when their best player, one of the best guards in the game, is out. And we
Yeah.
don't even know I don't know, like we don't even know what the timetable is exactly. It was indefinite when they originally said he had partial dislocation of his left knee. But Ben Simmons is a huge factor. And without him, I mean, sure, Joel Embiid can go 40 and 20 all day, but unless Josh Richardson is going off and Al Horford is stepping up, it's going to be tough to beat this Celtics team, even without Gordon Hayward. I mean, they're so deep.
Yeah, tomorrow, game number 2. Boston does have a 1-0 lead. You could also check out Utah and Denver. And then the early game of the day is Toronto and Brooklyn. The night game, though, Dallas and the Clippers. Clippers kind of got lucky in game number 1, I would say.
So I wanted to talk about that. The ejection of Kristaps Porzingis. I'm just gonna say it. It was bullshit. It shouldn't have happened. I don't know what the reasoning was, and I know a lot of players felt the same way. He was just going over there for one. Marcus Morris. I don't know about you, but I've watched a lot of basketball, and I feel like he's in the middle of a lot of scuffles
Mm-hmm.
and he's just an instigator. And I do believe Luka Doncic had every right to react the way he did. He got spun around, he got tossed a little bit, and he was disgusted with the move. And I don't think it was anything bad. It wasn't anything like Marcus Morris did anything. You can tell he was clearly um physical with Luca. And Luca had every right to feel the way he did. And of course, Marcus Morris, being the type of player that he is, was not going to take anything from anybody, especially Luca. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what caused him to get in Luca's face, in which Kristaps Porzingis came to back him up, and no punches were thrown. It did get physical, but long story short, they did eject him early in the game, and the Clippers won. They in Luka Doncic he played a great game,
Mm-hmm.
a typical Luka game
Yeah. He's a
with
little rusty with
Kristaps.
the turnovers.
Yeah, he did have some turnovers, but that Clippers defense is really good too. So it's kind of I feel like that's going to happen on any given night. Um, I I don't see another ejection happening that easily. I'm sure somebody had to tell these refs like, hey, like watch the film. It wasn't anything serious, or maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it on purpose. They're trying to avoid any sort of physical altercations, any fighting. Um, but that could have been a completely different ball game. I mean, Porzingis is clearly the number 2 on the team, being a 7 foot. He's a sharpshooter. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can grab the boards. He's just another option for Luca, and they didn't have it. So I personally I didn't like it. I didn't like the ejection. I'm sure you feel the same way. I it was a good game besides that.
Especially a playoff game where you eject one of the stars in the game. You can't have that happen. Both of the technicals Porzingis got, because he got 2 of them, which resulted in the ejection. Both of them were unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
you could have called a foul, or maybe like even the first one, who
Just
knows?
one technical.
The first one could have been fine, but the second one, to like willingly know that he already has a technical and give it to him so he's ejected, you can't be doing that in the playoffs, especially for how minor it was that Porzingis, like, what his actions.
Yeah.
It wasn't even bad. He got hit with a technical, out of the game. Huge contributing factor to the Mavericks' success going into the playoffs. And
Yeah.
then they only ended up losing by 8 points. Who knows
Yeah.
what it could have been?
Yeah, he was having a great game. 14 points in like 19 minutes only.
Mm-hmm.
It put the Mavs on the radar for me. I mean, I know Luka's great. I know Kristaps is great. They're always gonna fill the stat sheet. And obviously they won quite a bit of games this year, but against the Clippers, I didn't know how well they would play against them because, well, the Clippers are arguably 1-2 with the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow. I can tell you that. I'm sure I feel like there might be one more instance in this series where Marcus Morris might get into it with somebody because that's just, again, what he does. Uh, which I can't take anything away from him. I like Marcus Morris as a basketball player. He's a great ball player. He's ruthless. I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good series, and unless the Mavericks can really win this next game, I don't see them coming back even down in it's a 7-game series, but down 2-0 against this Clippers team and Fun Guy. It's gonna be tough.
Oh man, yeah, those are all the games tomorrow, or technically tonight. This podcast is already going to be up after this game happens. Forgot we're recording a day out, so yeah. For what we've talked about the past 15-ish minutes with today and tomorrow, as I said earlier in the podcast, we were recording this on Tuesday. This is going up Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So you guys already know what happens in these games, and hopefully they're good. I don't know if you were the same with me, where we forgot that we weren't going to upload this right away.
Yeah, I did almost forget. Yeah, because we've been recording on Wednesday. It's obviously Tuesday night now. But yeah, so just keep in mind when we say tomorrow, tomorrow is Wednesday night or today if you're listening to it, because it is going to get released probably by midnight, which is Wednesday. So we got our hours a little mixed up, but yeah, so definitely tune in on the social media as well. I'm gonna put a FanDuel out. I've been very successful these last couple of days. I dropped 330 tonight, which 300 plus is always what you want to aim for. I'll have a nice little lineup for you guys. I'll put it out on Instagram. I'll put it out on Twitter as well, and then yeah, we'll stay in touch with that. And again, I don't know. Was there any other? I don't think there was any other basketball news. I think that's gonna wrap up. Real quick, we don't watch too much hockey, but shout out to the Blackhawks for making it past the first round. They are currently tied 3-3 in game 4 right now. Or I'm sorry, this is
Game
game
5.
5. Yeah, this is game 5. They won game 4, so hopefully they can pull it off for the hometown one time. We'll follow up with that maybe later on. It's tied 3-3 right now, going into the there's about a minute left in the second period there. If they can pull this off, who knows? They've pulled off crazier series before. So
Oh man. I think that, well, football, we got football news a little bit. Today I was watching the news. Football is returning within a month. Kind of
Yep.
weird. Are there preseason games?
I
There
see nothing scheduled.
Ooh, so they're going to jump right into the regular season.
I don't know what they're gonna do yet, but I still think that there should be
At least a
at
game or two.
least 2 games. One to figure out who you're gonna cut. I mean, you got to let these rookies play. You have to know where they're gonna play, and you need a game to let your starters get in
Yeah.
the swing of things. I mean, you don't want to go in cold. That's how guys get hurt. Granted, you don't see too much from starters in preseason. You might. I think this year it's going to hurt the Bears the most
Mm-hmm.
because they have a quarterback. Excuse me, a quarterback battle between Obviously Nick Foles, and then they have Mitch Trubisky. So hopefully they get a couple of games in and figure out what they're going to do. It sounds like Trubisky is going to lead the starting unit, at least until further notice. But it's going to be a weird adjustment for the NFL. But it looks like they are scheduled to start on time. And I believe as of right now, they're going to be playing in their home stadiums. They haven't really said anything about any sort of bubbles or restricting access to based on region where the home, your hometown is.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I'm still going forward with my fantasy football draft, so I'm my fingers are crossed that we have a football season.
Yeah, I brought up football though because I did hear about the quarterback controversy or quarterback battle in Chicago. It was kind of funny. They were showing player interviews about Trubisky, and a couple of them were like, "Oh man, Trubisky's coming out this. Trubisky is like making sure he's going to be healthy. He is going to look sharp this year. This is his final year with the Bears. It's win the battle and perform well, or you're going to ride the bench and eventually exit the league in a few years."
Yep.
So you need to start doing something, especially with Nick Foles now coming in. And in the player interviews, one of them was Nick Foles. They like asked him about Mitch Trubisky, which Nick Foles probably came into the camp. He probably knew Trubisky was going to be the number one from the start. He's your teammate. You can't really be like, why are you asking me these questions about this guy when I'm trying to compete for the starting spot? Whoever gets it, the other guys should be happy for on paper, like out in the public, should be happy for the other guy. But yeah, it was funny. He was talking about how Trubisky was changing and he was getting better from compared to like last year and stuff.
There you go, Bears fans. You heard it here first on the Standing Room Only podcast. Trubisky is going to lead you guys to the promised land. No, but he very well could be. I mean, it's his contract year. Contract year is huge. As you said, this can make or break whether or not he's going to exit the league in a couple of years. Talented. He's super talented. It's there. He's had some games where you're like, why can't we get this Trubisky every single game? Now that he has a little fire lit under his ass, so to speak, with Nick Foles being there, who knows? Maybe he does come out firing.
We'll just have to wait and see on that. Other football news, I don't think there really is.
Alex Smith
Yeah,
got the okay.
Yeah, he got cleared.
Yep.
Never thought that. So is there going to be a QB battle between Smith and Haskins now?
It seems there might be. Don't get me wrong. I love Dwayne Haskins. He was great in college, but NFL level, he hasn't really done anything spectacular yet. The Washington football team, right now, as they stand, they showed him, taking reps. I don't know what the status is as far as when is he. I mean, I assume he's okay to just play if that's, as soon as they clear him for physical contact, that's it. Alex Smith he's a good quarterback. Whether or not he lost anything due to his injury, we're bound to see. But I would say there definitely is going to be some sort of quarterback controversy. There's going to be a battle there, and well, that's another one to look forward to because that Washington team's kind of weird. They have so much potential. They have I think Geis is coming back as well. He got injured. No.
Geis is out of the league.
Oh.
You don't know about that? I don't think we really talked about that. This happened a week ago. Darius Geis no longer with the Redskins. He turned himself in for 3 counts of strangulation, domestic violence. Yeah. Darius Geis. He's gone. He's not coming back. I forgot that we didn't even talk about this on a previous podcast. I forgot. But yeah, he's done. Who knows how long?
Yeah.
He barely got his start. It was looking promising. He got injured a couple times. Yeah, it's not looking good.
Reckless driving as well. Oh man. I know his injury was not the best. It was a knee injury, but his career was so promising, especially in Washington, where you're just going to be a workload.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. I didn't know that. I didn't even see that in sports news. I mean, granted, I wasn't looking for Washington news, but that's interesting. So there you go.
Yeah, you mentioned that name, and I was like, oh yeah, we forgot to talk about that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So he's off the team now. So it's I don't even know who's on that offense. McLaurin, the receiver, who's pretty damn good. He'll probably end up putting up some numbers. He has, at least last year he had a really good year. So I don't know. There's a whole lot going on with the Washington football team.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be it for the podcast this week.
Yep.
As
So we just want to thank you
always,
guys. Yeah, as always, make sure you go ahead. If you're listening, if you like what you hear, go ahead and hit the download button. It's the way we get recognition on our podcast. It's kind of like a view count for us. Like, subscribe, leave a review. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and we're on YouTube. The Standing Room Only podcast. Go ahead and follow our social media accounts, SR Only Pod. We are on Twitter and Instagram. I'm iGoose with 4 O's on Instagram and Twitter. And we have Healy.
you can follow me at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Until next week, guys.
Have a good one.